What's good, everybody? Today we're going to be making another beat in the style of Gunna's 101 album that just came out. I just did a tutorial on it and you guys really liked it, so we're going to do another one. Let's get into it. First I set my scale, which is in F sharp minor for this beat. And then I started with my bass notes. Started with this one because it's our scale note. And I went with the A and the E. And then I just started building triads off of that. I used this A note after the F note because you can see when you skip place, some of the notes line up with the previous notes in the first chord, and it just helps it transition a little bit if you have some of the same notes from one chord into the next chord. And then this next one, I still have one that helps carry it over. Not as many notes are the same in the last chord, so it just adds a little bit of tension, so then when it loops back over, it kind of gives you like a sense of relief. Once I had my basic chords and my rhythm kind of laid out, Control C, Control V, pasted them down so I have my bass notes. Easy to place my 808s later. And then I just started pitching these around to come up with my chord progression to make some more interesting chords. So this F I pitched up, this A I pitched up. And once I had that, I just kind of started deviating and just playing with it until it sounded good, kind of adding and taking notes out to whatever I liked. So then I added this F in to kind of help transition from this chord to this one. I took this E out. I added a B here because there's a B in this, and then I pitched it up to help kind of just bring it over. There's a lot of F notes, so I added another one to kind of again just help bring it over. Now you can see how we started with our basic triads and we transformed it into what we have now just by pitching them around and playing with them. And that sounds like this. I also went Alt S just to strum it a little bit, just so they're not on the grid. And I also hit Alt R just to play with the velocities so it doesn't sound so human. You're gonna hear me say that every time. And then I just copied over the first half into the second half, and all I did was just pitch a note up just to make the second half sound a little bit different. Next, I copied all my notes, Control C, on this 2 stutter step preset. Kind of this is real melodic synthy kind of sound. Pasted them in. And I liked, when I was listening to it back, I liked how this note sounded in that second preset. I just added in the first half just to kind of put that interesting part throughout the whole loop. This is what it sounds like with both presets. Next, I went back into Analog Lab, found a flute because Gunna uses lots of flutes. So these guys here are just our piano chords. And you can see that our flute notes are just notes that I pulled out of these chords and just pitched them down, found a couple that sounded good together. And then I did do a little bit of processing on this preset just to give it that kind of pulsing and pushing. Bunch of reverb. We love filter to sound a little more muffled, a little kind of vintage-ish. Roast beat with this gate preset and then this slow triplet. And I just added a pan so that it pans from left to right in your ear, just so it's not so straight down the middle because your chords of your piano are going to be in the middle, so you just want that top melody to kind of move around and it just makes it feel like a different layer. This is what it sounds like without the effects, and with the effects, just a little more melodic, a little more emotion, not quite so basic. So then next I need to fill up the low end, so I went and found a bass. Again, went to Analog Lab and I grabbed my custom Jupiter bass that I made. If you guys want this bass, I'll make a kit one day, just let me know in the comments and I'll throw it in there. Dropped them into our bass. You see it's the same notes. I just felt the bass needed a little bit more mid, so I went back to the progression one more time. Grabbed the next layer of notes just to make it sound a little more full. Hit Control C. Went to my bass, pasted it in. You can see it's the same notes from our main chord progression. So again, you can just see it just starting with that foundation set of chords and just layering stuff and kind of stripping and adding things into it. Next we started adding some drums, simple clap. Some kind of snary clap. Gunna uses lots of snares. So then I started laying down a bounce with the hi-hats. So I stripped some out here, just kind of add an emphasis to where it bounces into the clap. Let it breathe a little bit. Add these micro rolls into where it's kind of transitioning into the next chord. So I felt like the hi-hats just needed to be filled out a little bit more, so I added another 2-step pattern. Then I just pitched these sections down just to change up the pattern just a little bit. So then the other thing I can do is have this hi-hat pattern for part of my beat, and then I can have this hi-hat pattern for part of my beat, and maybe for the most catchy part I can have both of them. Next I kind of laid down a rhythm with a kick. So anywhere I just felt it needed help transitioning into the sounds I already had. So these 2 kicks transition to the hi-hat roll right there, which transitions into the clap that's here. It's all about just bouncing one sound into the next sound. Then I went and laid down an 808, went and grabbed my bass notes from the bass that we laid in, pasted it in, same notes, and then I just chopped it up to give it a little bit of rhythm. Then I added this little perk sound, this little zap, pretty subtle. Transitions into the 3, and then the 1 of the next 4 bars. The 1 and the 3 are the most catchy parts of your beat, so you want to transition and emphasize those. And then again, to emphasize that 1, that most catchy part, I added in a little open hat, an 808 hitting right here, emphasizes that. Perks, you can use them to emphasize or help transition between sounds. So the it's cowbell, I just helped emphasize this clap so that our clap that hits on every single one of these isn't the same all the time. So the cowbell just changes it up just a little bit and you can barely hear it. And then lastly, I made this kind of riser effect, and it's actually the same cowbell from right here. I just took it, threw some effects on it, threw hella delay on it, and it just kind of made this cool riser effect. Placed it right here because you can see that our 808's hitting right here, so that kind of riser just builds it up to where it's just gonna punch. Now for the arrangement, for the intro, I just took our main progression, the piano, and that kind of other melodic sounding piano, dropped in the tag, threw in the riser to bring it into the verse. For the verse, I put all my sounds in for this beat. Sometimes you can build it up, and sometimes you can put all your sounds if you want it to be really catchy right away. Then I want to change up the second half. Took the 808 out to kind of release some of the tension before you build it back up. Then we transition into the hook. Just did the one hi-hat pattern like I talked about. And I also took the kick out just to make it really obvious that we're transitioning from the verse to the hook. And then just to change up our melody a little bit from the verse to the hook, I rendered our two pianos, got a consolidated waveform, took it, duplicated it, made it unique so I can make changes to this one without affecting this one, pan this one to the left, pan this one to the right, and it just makes it sound a little bit more full. Even though it's the same instrument, the same pattern as these, it just gives it a different feel and it makes it sound different. And then for the second half of the hook, I took all my melodies, rendered it, and then reversed it, gave it this kind of swelling effect. So then after we had our three sections, intro, verse, hook, just took it, layered it over 3 times, and that's how you make a beat for Gunna. Something that definitely could have been on his 101 album. Hopefully we can get this placed in the next one, but for now, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. If you want the loop or the FLP, make sure you guys join the Discord. The link will be down below. And that's how you make a beat for, and that's how you make a